Hello, parents and any teachers or students who may be watching. Welcome to Creating Math Ahas. I'm Dr. Sandy Atkins, Sandy, and in this video, we're going to focus on how we develop the meaning of subtraction with your kindergarten children. Now, you see all these different counters that I have displayed here. We have some animal counters and some vehicle counters and some bear counters. And many of us are looking at that thinking, what does that have to do with subtraction? Because for us, subtraction looked like this. And we were memorizing these facts. And it started quite early for us. Now, we might do some acting out. With me, we acted out with popsicle sticks quite often. And we didn't have all these fancy counters, right? But part of developing the meaning of subtraction with your kindergarten child is that idea of acting it out. It helps build meaning for this symbol set that we focused on, and that meaning is what's going to help them in solving story problems, word problems, and doing problem solving. Now, we have other types of counters you may see. We might have unifix cubes. Okay, these are cubes that go together in one way. That's why they're called unifix. For me, I sometimes choose a unifix cube because it's a single color. I can use a single color. Sometimes multiple colors will make it a little more challenging for your child. So we pick materials very purposefully, and sometimes we let the children pick the materials. And if we're doing a story about ducks or birds, you might see vehicle counters out there, and you might think, why in the world are they using a bus or a train to represent a bird? Well, that's the beauty of mathematics also, is that we substitute things. We let a bus represent a bird. We let X represent a number later on. So this notion of substitution is something that young children do quite easily. And then we almost have to reteach it later when they get into algebra. But we're going to use that to our advantage here. Now, in the introduction to subtraction video that I did, I introduced the meaning of subtraction we want children to have. Subtraction meaning removal or takeaway, and also comparison subtraction. But what we're going to do in kindergarten with your kindergarten children is really use what's important for them. And a very important learning tool for your young child is play. Now, it's important for their social development, but it's also important for academics. So we're going to use play, and I want to keep in mind this 6 minus 4. But we're going to use 6 minus 4 not as the symbol, but as story. So we'll start out with your child, and they may start out with them as child actors. So they will say, 6 birds are sitting on a fence, and you might have 6 of your children acting like the birds, and then we're going to say 4 flew away. So they might have those 6 birds and 4 flew away. And then think about those counters. One part, they play, they act out stories, which represent the meaning of subtraction. Then we have counters, and I've shown you just a few of the possible ones your children may use in kindergarten. But see, I'm not going to go to a new problem right away. For me, I like to stick with the same problem to help them build connections, right? Because later we might not take time for them to act it out, but they can act it out with a counter. And through all of this, we're building the foundation they need to be successful with subtraction as they progress through the grades. Now think about these representing my birds. 6 birds are sitting on the fence, 4 fly away. Notice what happens here when I have those 4 flying away. So they acted out with counters, and then we also have them draw the related pictures. Now, I apologize for my artwork. It's not very artistic, but I hope you'll get a sense of what we're looking at here. These are some of the types of pictures I've seen for this story related to that fact. And you'll see 6 birds are sitting on a fence, 4 flew away. 2 birds here, 4 flew away, right? 6 birds total, or they might draw something like this. Now, one thing to think about with these is the drawings we see change when they first have acted it out themselves and with counters. If we go straight to drawing the pictures, we tend to see this type of drawing. Now, if you look at these drawings, can you see why this one might be a little problematic, right? Because right now, if I didn't see this, I think we have 10 birds. Something's happening with 10 birds. Whereas with this one, once they've acted it out with counters themselves, they know 2 remain on the fence. They can tell us about what's going on with the birds on the fence, and 4 have flown away. Or here, they have some idea that 6 started out on the fence, 4 fly away. So we do want to do drawings, but it's not just a drawing. We also see the benefit of the acting it out to the drawing. So it's a multi-step process for your child. And it's not that if they know the answers to, they automatically can represent the story with pictures, right? Acting it out helps them do that. Now, once they have done these, see, we can start having them draw or tell stories, excuse me. So I could do things like, I could give them a picture that's quite simple, much simpler than my attempt at the bird story, right? The bird drawings. And my picture might just look like this. And I might say, can you tell me a story that would go with my picture? And see what they come up with, right? So this is the next step in the process. See what they come up with. Or I might say, could you tell me a toy story that goes with this picture? Could you tell me a food story, an animal story? See, it's really important that your child understands that this picture can represent many, many contexts. And in math, we don't need to accessorize the drawings. We don't need such detail all the time, that we can understand that right now, this circle may be representing a bird. It could be representing a toy. It could be representing food, an animal. It can represent many different things. There's that substitution idea coming in. So again, we get them to act it out themselves, act it out with counters, act it out with drawings. And notice with those processes, they may not be seeing those symbols quite yet. They may, but it doesn't mean we've avoided subtraction. We've built that really important foundation for the meaning of subtraction. And then later, we can label this like this. But these symbols now represent birds and fruit and animals, other animals. It can represent toys. See, now there's a lot of story behind these symbols, not just symbol memorization for your child. So it's very, very purposeful that we're going through this process. Now, I want to show one more, and that's the comparison. And comparison's a little bit different. Let's see if I can show you something. See, 6 and 4, this gets us to something that's a little bit more complicated for your child. Let's see where these went. There's 6, here's 4. See, comparing things is quite complicated for your kindergartner. If I say, which has more, many of your children are quite good at saying this one. It's the question, how many more? So many of them will say 6, the quantity in the one with more. But we need them to not focus on this whole bit, but this morbid, this part up here. So there might be a lot of stories going on where children are working on identifying how many more. They might use chains to do this. They might use some of the other counters that I've shown you, these kinds of things. Working with sets of counters versus these bars is actually a little more complex. You almost have to match things, but they may be doing that. They may be doing that with themselves, lining themselves up and comparing partners, partners, partners. And then you have some extras for the how many more idea. But we can use, again, them to act it out, to move from which has more to how many more. So I hope this gives you some idea of what you might be seeing with your kindergarten child and wondering why we've moved from something like this to something like this, encounters and acting out. And I hope this helps you see a bit about building understandings for those word problems and tightly linking it to here versus doing that later. We build it, we use it to build the understanding from the beginning. So if you found this helpful, I hope you will like the video, subscribe so you'll know when others are on their way. I will give a link, if I remember, at the bottom to the intro to subtraction, which will explain the meaning of subtraction and some strategies we use as they move up through the grades. And if you have children in other grades, look for those grade level specific videos. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in another video.